So, that was as fast as I've seen it in a while for this many people. Good job. Thank you, guys. So that's how it goes. Now we've got about 35 minutes to talk about what's going on. Probably the main reason you guys are here. The market is crashing. Is that right? How many people think the market's crashing right now? Really? There's usually one.
Come on,
There's usually one.
6 to 8%. I think it's a crash.
Yeah. If we went over to Sam's number 3 and asked that question, how many people do you think would all think it's crashing?
All of them.
Yep.
Sam's number 3.
Isn't that Sam's number 3?
Yeah. If you ask them how many of those people think that the real estate market is crashing,
Yeah.
2/3 would say, I don't know what you're talking about whatsoever. And the other folks would say, it's just a return to equilibrium at worst right now.
I don't think so. I think
You've had a 20% pullback from a 25% high.
No, you're right. So, we all noticed that the day they raised interest rates, which has nothing to do with mortgages or anything else, everybody quit buying, apparently. As we've noticed, it's kind of started to pick up again. But as Ray said, because Ray's been here a bunch of years and he's heard me say this over and over and over again, we still have a seasonality thing in Colorado, right? Summertime has really just dropped the last 5 years. It used to be August, now it looks like it's moved up to June. Maybe that's just because the interest rates went down or went up, but it's just as far as I'm concerned, we've got a blip. It's totally normal seasonal. I think people will be back. They'll be hotter than ever this winter. Yeah, rates will cause a little bit of problems, but Tammy, rates are coming down, aren't they?
Yeah, they had hit an all-time high of 5.75 2 months ago.
What, all time? No.
No, I know. Over the last 3 years.
Last 3 years, okay. Yeah.
And then now they're down to like 5.125 on a 30-year fix. No origination, no discount points.
Yeah. So we're down to the 5s and the high 4s from what I'm hearing. And it's starting to kind of tick down a little bit, but in reality, Ted will tell you he paid 15% for a house one time, or close to it, or over 10, and somehow we all survived. So this is what's going to happen. This is going to become a big norm, and in 3 years, people will forget that we were getting 2.5 rates, right? So, what are you guys seeing out there in the market that's scaring you or making you think that something's changing? Let's just kind of talk about it, open it up to conversation. This is not a time to sell yourself, okay? Don't mention what you do. This is a time to really talk about it and go through this stuff. Go ahead.
So it's not necessarily scaring me, but I know a lot of people are getting scared because the property's not selling that first weekend, and you're having to wait, 30 days to get a good offer, I think. So that's the only thing that I see, but it doesn't scare me.
Average days on market right now is 8, up from 6.
That was 16.
So, somebody in the back, stand up.
I was just gonna say, I mean, if something's priced correctly and updated, it's gonna sell. If not, if rates are high, if that's what people are worried about, sellers are offering anywhere from 3 to 5% as a concession to buy down people's rates. So, there's ways of getting over obstacles, and it's just getting creative. So I don't think that's really slowed down to the extent that people think it has.
Do you think that's retroactive over the board? Because I got a house that's on market for $995, been on market for 26 days. I got a lot of, oh, it's a beautiful house. Got a lot of those, but we got a comp at 1.1, and we're just sitting on the market. It's a beautiful house.
Just a higher price point, I believe.
That's what I think. I think in the higher price points that you're gonna, that we're seeing a lot of price cuts over there. On the average homes, 5 to 6. Isn't that the median home in Denver?
About
650?
640.
640? Yeah, I
You
think
know?
those are gonna still be okay.
So a couple things.
Stay away
with
from the
this.
high ones.
I had a guru mentor named Mike Ferry who would say it's just about the price. Just about the price. Lower the price and somebody will buy it.
No.
If you can't lower the price, then you gotta wait. And when you lower price, you know, you gotta weigh the pros and cons, right? If you're holding it and you're paying Kim a hard money loan for 10–12%, and it's a $900,000 property, that loan's probably $6,000 a month. So $6,000 a month. So if you go 2 months extra holding it, you just spent $12,000. Can you go back and get that up, or could you have sold it a month earlier after you dropped it $10,000? Something to think about. Tammy and then Kim.
Just a couple of points.
Tammy, stand up. You're the quietest person in the world.
Sorry. That's a smaller pool of buyers right there. When you get into the upper range, there aren't that many people in the market who can qualify for a home like that. Just saying. And then this young guy here has some interesting information about the ebb and flow of the wholesale market.
Yeah, we saw for like 2 or 3 weeks a big slowdown. Obviously now we're seeing it come back around. I think people are just more or less scared in general to buy houses. You know, I don't see what to be scared of. It's an investment, so I think, you know, it's coming back around and everybody should, you know, hop back on that market and get things going nowadays, so.
Kim?
Yeah, we are seeing most clients in the exit price of like $650 and under getting contracts within about 3 weeks. They initially start to panic because everybody was so used to all the bidding wars and, you know, multiple contracts on day one, and that's gone back to more of a normal. And people are just panicked by what is normal. So I'll get a lot of calls saying, hey, I think I'm gonna have to hold this property and I'm gonna look at refinance. And then by the next week, I get a call saying, actually, I did get it under contract. So it's just taking a little bit longer to contracts. In the higher price points, it is taking much longer, again, at $650 and under. As Kenyon said, we are seeing clients offering oftentimes the 2-1 buy down concession to help the new buyer coming in qualify because it lowers their rate for the first couple of years. And that also helps keep the market prices up because it doesn't come off as a deduction to a purchase price. So that's helpful in keeping market prices up. We do have some clients that are choosing to fix and hold and refinance into long-term financing if they don't like the price that they're getting on the contract. So that is still an option out there with the DSCR, the debt service coverage ratio programs.
That's enough. We got you. But she's right. Prices are stabilized. I like that as a concession. How many brokers do we have in here? Real estate brokers do we have in here? Who's offered on a property below asking price lately? Okay. If we went to DMAR or Smedra, how many agents do you think would raise their hand? Probably 10%, 20%. Agents have forgot that we can negotiate. It's unbelievable, and their clients have forgotten. So, and we've seen this, nobody asking under for 5 years, and I don't know why these agents forget it. I don't know why Keller Williams isn't teaching it. They just forgot because they're so worried about getting their people in the properties. They don't think to, negotiate, which is good, or they negotiate an inspection. I think that's where they've concentrated on lately. An amazing stat that you guys will hear from me probably every month for the rest of your lives: 5,000 to 7,000 homes sell in the greater Denver market every month. It was like that in 2007, 8, 9, 10. It is up a little bit these last few years, but it's always moving. There's always somebody moving in, there's always somebody moving out, there's always a divorce, there's always a death, there's always something going on. We were at RIG the other night, and Manford brought up a stat that I think it was $80 billion are right now sitting in housing. That means people that are retiring, the baby boomers have $80 million in cash sitting there. How do you think their kids are getting into these houses? They're buying these houses for their kids. They're giving their kids the start because they've got so much equity built up. So that means go find them, go ask them, and help teach them how to invest. And there's some money for you. Because I know the biggest thing out here, people are asking for money, right? We all need money. Lynn needs money, I need money, Lene needs money, everybody needs, Ray needs money. Ray always needs money. Edward needs money, so there's a good place to look at. John?
Is anyone in here heading into the development end? As we're all, 80% of us are in the retail world, and so, which seems to be like at equilibrium. We're not in a panic mode. However, in development, it seems like the supply chain has broken down so badly that that seems like that's where the real problems actually are here in Denver. Is anyone know anything about what's going on in the development end?
We've currently got about $100 million under development. We've seen issues, but we've been seeing it since Corona started. So we've been ordering everything ahead of time. We just broke ground on 60 units, ordered all of our tubs and showers a month ago. All of our windows are on order now. But we're seeing some of those things come back through. We're just having to start planning again. I mean, we 2012, 13, and 14, nobody was building anything. So there was lots of supply and no demand. And as we've seen that change and go to a 2017, 2018 market where things warmed up, and then we went to a 2020 where things were just hotter than a pistol, and now we're going back to adding in the supply chain issues, and we've got to plan ahead for this stuff. But it's not insurmountable. We've seen pricing go up. We've seen, with labor concerns, we've seen what some people would call price gouging, but it's how bad do you want it? And I think a lot of people are starting to reevaluate, can I afford to put this on the market? Can I afford to build this right now with where rates are at, with where costs are at, and with where rents are at? Because I think we're seeing rents kind of start to peak with all the other things that people are seeing invade their pocket. So we're seeing, I've talked to some friends of mine that canceled about $300 million worth of stuff in Phoenix, Arizona, because they can't get it to pencil now with where their final rates are going to be. So you're going to start to see supply chain issues lighten up on some of that stuff, just because large-scale builders aren't pulling everything they can out of the market.
Great. That's why we come here, by the way, if you didn't know that. You're welcome anytime.
I just want to piggyback off that. The only thing that I've noticed, obviously I'm not with new building, like of commercial buildings, but with the new builds, a lot of these builders, you're not able to pick your finishing touches. It's just like, okay, what color cabinets do you want, stuff like that. As far as get people in there and being able to complete that on time with their waiting list and stuff like that, because I've closed on probably, 6 new builds since December, and at first, the first couple groups, like, you pick everything and everything's good, and their base price has gone up, so they're already walking into equity, but now it's just more like cookie cutter, hey, what color do you want the outside to be?
Sure. Probably stems from some supply chain.
Yeah.
But the big dogs, the Richmonds and Pulte's, they're already landing way ahead.
And no matter what it is, like, it's just about running numbers.
Yeah.
Like, it just all, you're consistently running numbers. If you run your numbers good, you'll be all right.
Huh.
But Tim, one thing is that Ivy Zellman was on Twitter Spaces the other day. If you guys don't know, she's one of the few people. Ivy Zellman was on Twitter Spaces the other day. Neely and Salah and I were talking about this. She's one of the few people that called out the last global financial crisis. She does a proprietary survey of builders. And there's a lot of problems out there right now because you have a lot of cancellations because interest rates got stuck. Salal Shanti is in a club called AMA, Advanced Market Analytic, a lot of C-suite advisors and economists, some of the top Fortune 500 in the country. We were talking about this today in one of our stages where he really believes there's a hardcore supply chain shock 2.0. We have to remember that there's a lot of collateral damage that went down during Corona that we haven't seen the total effects of yet. My 3 biggest concerns for real estate investment are supply chain, you know, the construction industry, what's going to happen as far as the cancellations. Newly formed syndication is a huge issue right now where they didn't underwrite right and they're going to get stuck. So look at the source of the capital of the development, see what it is. Is it a Korea situation where they're just looking for a return on investment? Is it institutional where they have deep pockets and they can be there for a long time? Or is it newly formed syndication that underwrote poorly and then that's going to collapse? If your investment's next to that, you need to be aware if you have trade winds or tailwinds on your way. If you bought a duplex or a 20 unit right around the corner from that asset that could be sitting dark. And if you remember back in the day, anything that sat dark, that kind of took down that whole neighborhood for a long time. That's what the Midwest has been battling with for 30 years. You know, when I went to Michigan, if you have an elementary school that's dark in a neighborhood, it brings down the value of that neighborhood like 15 to 30% compared to the elementary school over here that's open, same neighborhood, same crime rate, the whole 9 yards, and eventually this crime rate over here goes up, and it causes problems. So look for things that are going to create dark assets that are going to work against you as far as your tailwinds and trade winds of what you're investing.
Yeah, great advice.
So we're keep piggybacking on that same
Speak louder.
conversation. Can you hear me?
No, thank you.
stand
Oh,
up.
it sounds like we're piggybacking on that same conversation, but to his point, which was a great point, and all 3 points, but I was in a meeting back in Texas. It was me and 3 other builders. This development's been going on for about 3 years. We're getting to the phase where May of next year we're supposed to break ground on houses. And basically, we're looking at putting the pencil to the pad at this moment. It doesn't make sense for any of us to do it right now. So these developers put all this work developing and getting this going. And it's in a still fairly good market in Texas. And all 4 of the builders are looking around at each other going, I don't know if this is going to make sense. Because when you go and you commit to 25 lots, then you have certain takedown schedules where you have to take down those properties and close on the land and then build another one within X amount of time. It's called a takedown schedule. Well, you're looking at that when days on market. I used to get a house moved, a spec home, get it done in 4 months, be done in 5 months, and out the door on that home. Now I may be sitting there, it may take 6, 7 months just to build it because I can't get any materials. And then for somebody based on rates, I don't know if I'm really able to take that risk to take down 25 properties in this development. So that development may just be sitting dark for a while, we don't see, and that's like kind of a small capital project. They're not from China or anything like that. So I don't know what's going to happen in that development, but you're going to start seeing some of that in those new construction products slowing down in many areas across the market. So.
Well, one thing good about the Denver market is we're still 30,000 units short of what we need. And because they weren't building, you know, you guys were saying we weren't building in 13, 14, 15. Well, Denver wasn't building in 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 because of the construction defect law. Now that that's sunsetted and they've worked around it, it's much better. The other problem though, Denver's got a huge problem. And if you live in Denver, you better wake up. Permits are taking 6 months and plus. 6 months to get a permit to do something to your house. So if you start tearing apart your kitchen and you want to permit it, you gotta wait 6 months to do it. And the city of Denver is a mess, as you know. And the other communities, outreach communities around us are not much better off. So the city of Denver, we need to vote out this current group. And we need to rebuild the market. And we need to fix that building department because it is awful. It is awful. My company, Groundworks, is barely doing any kind of permit work in Denver because it just takes too long. I sold a deal back in last January, and we're finally gonna have the permits to fix their house probably another week in Denver. It's awful.
You know what's driving that delay?
Do I know what's driving out? Yeah, the idiots at the building department.
You know, I'll add to that, Tim. You know, we're handcuffed like you don't know. You guys, same thing with Denver, I know it. And, you know, kind of singing the same story. But what the problem is, me as a small builder, I have a buddy of mine that's a developer that's like, Ben, I want to pull the trigger, I want to build right now. And I'm like, we're building a spec in Kingman, Arizona, where my wife is, selling real estate right now. Makes sense. Only because I can fund the thing myself. I'm not making that much money. I'm funding it. I'm a carpenter by trade, builder, contractor, licensed for a long time. But stop. Here in Denver, my buddy, the developer, I got the money, hey, we're ready to go. The supply chain, you know, we're circumventing that. Hey, you just put a smile on your face, right? You deal with what you got. Luckily, we're still a rail town, Denver. We have the ability to get product, and we just have to, you know, deal with the time delay. But for building here, brutal. At the building department, it's like, you know, I go in and talk to Paul, who's the boss of the inspectors on a regular basis, and I never wanted to go over anyone's head, but we're having to do that all the time because one inspector says one thing, another comes out. Now we're dealing with a 3-inch encroachment on the bulk plane that, you know, I have to reinvent the wheel just to get that thing through.
Yep.
It's tough.
Yeah.
How are you dealing with labor shortages?
Oh, that's on, you know, all the contract, you can sing that all you want. It's the work ethic, the moral compass, the values, the kids want to work and they don't want to work, sorry, they want a paycheck. So, you know, I have a 63-year-old laborer, 2 years older than me, that's always moving on the job. That guy will have a job, I don't know what I'll do when he's gone. It's like, you know, what happened? You know, we tried to mentor some kids from Prairie View High School. I did, a couple kids. One kid, his granddad is a project manager. His dad's got a concrete company. So I thought, man, this is great. Part of me giving back. I want to help out, be part of the solution, right? The kids quit in the middle of the semester because my foreman was too hard on them. And they get a trophy and they get 2 credit hours. So, what do you do?
Yeah.
Stop.
Amazing. How many people have rentals around the area? Are we seeing vacancies? Are kids moving? Are people moving? Are we seeing some stagnation in that? John, what are you seeing?
Me, I'm suffering I'm twisting in the wind. I'm the worst person to talk about this one because I'm right now evicting, and I'm just going through hell with my every tenant I've gotten has turned out to be I mean, just the worst. You want to put them out of your misery. So the quality of tenants has been going down, but I'm much more plagued to the point where my business is coming to an end, by the labor shortage. There are no young people at all that I can find. And as I start to physically get to the end of my, my shoulder can only go so far. I've already got it torn, so and I'm at the end. There are no young people who will do work. And I understand that drain cleaning isn't at the peak of the glitz and glamour scale, but my God, is it recession-proof? It pays great. You got a phenomenal boss. Jeez, you think you need a job?
Yeah, what's the pay? That's what we see. Me and him both just laugh whenever everybody is talking about labor shortages. We don't have those problems at all, but we pay our people above market and we treat them with, I give bonuses. I gave $40,000 bonuses.
I tried paying them really well. And, at the end of the day, I'm not in the right. You guys are more set up for that than
I
I.
only speak Spanish, so can't use that one. Can't use that one.
Did you have something?
Well, on the subject of rentals, I've got 9 in the area, and they're all full.
Yeah.
And one we rented last January to a nice couple for an 18-month lease. They left in July, tragedy, ICU, moving back in with parents for rehab. We're like, yeah, we'll let you out the lease. It was rented again, just like within a week, at $100 more than we had even asked in January. And we could have probably, we took like a 2-week vacancy on it, but the person doing our training was like, well, you could probably push that to have it turn around fast. We're like, no, we want the 2 weeks to do a little improvement to it. That's our choice, but it was fast.
Yeah, but I'm kind of looking at the last month, if anybody's seen anything, because interest rates, and did people just slow down from rents?
We're actually taking 2 weeks, and people are moving in next week. So
Okay.
that's
So
within the
you're
last
putting it in.
month.
Great. Lynn?
In
Stand up,
Boulder,
Lynn.
just to piggyback on what Tim was saying, permits are taking 9 months to a year in Boulder County.
In Boulder?
In Boulder. If you are trying to buy water, you're looking at maybe a year and a half to get water, if you're looking like, Big Thompson or something like that. So take into account your water as well. As for rentals, if anybody has rentals, please let me know, because with the Marshall Fire, I still have 1,100 houses that aren't built, and people are just looking for houses everywhere. Boulder County just allowed them last week to put ADUs on their property. Meantime, while they're building, most of the building, we probably got the first house. It went down December 30th. We had the first house under construction. So they're gonna put in ADUs, whether that's gonna be permanent or temporary, we have not heard. But, so if you know people that can build ADUs, please get in touch with me on that as well. And if you have rentals, please contact me, because I know people who are still looking.
So, everybody know what an ADU is? Accessory dwelling units.
Yeah.
That is one of the big pushes lately from people out there that think that's gonna help us solve our housing crisis. And those ADUs, you know where they're allowed to do it?
East Colfax.
No.
Those are called squatters.
Look, these are permitted to happen over in North Aurora. I'm working with someone that we both know to get them out here. We have 4 homeowners who are looking to get these under contract to get them built in my neighborhood, as it is right now, just from mailing letters. Just for mailing letters. We haven't even had a presentation yet in the neighborhood to give people the slideshow. The demand is there, the market is there, but they are not educated yet. Start getting out the old-fashioned way. Screw Facebook ads. They're not hitting the homeowners who have been around for 20, 30 years. Think about that. Try the old-fashioned way and see how that works out for you.
And they're also in Park Hill and in the nice parts of town, so when you do an ADU in those nice parts of town, you gotta pay for it. Who's a local builder around? What are we seeing square footage wise to build ground up right now? Anybody know?
210, Alex Levere just built that 6 townhouse.
For 210
210
a square foot?
square foot.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Wow.
Wouldn't be me.
Because a year ago, or 2 years ago, we were at 330. So I'm wondering if that goes up. I'll ask around and find that out for next month. Lynn, did you have something else?
No, well, other than, most of the cities in 2019, we changed all the rules and regs so that they could build the smaller houses, anything under 1,000 square feet, anything above 400. But the problem that we're running into for the ADUs and the cottages and stuff, the cities and counties still do not know how to tax them. They don't know what codes and rules and regs to apply to them, so that's where we're getting some feedback or some blowback, because they've got the cart before the horse, like they always do. So you're gonna see more of the ADUs, but it's mostly gonna be more of that temporary housing, or maybe it's that office, because everybody's gonna be moving to remote work only. So that's where you're seeing your ADUs is more as those accessories, extra housing. Maybe a mother-in-law or a father-in-law house type of thing. But we're still dealing with Boulder County, or Boulder County, any county that wants to deal that with
Yeah.
rules and regs.
Any county on the Front Range is having that issue.
Yeah.
And, you know, we bag on the building department. They're doing the best they can with the rules they were given and the training they got. And that, I think, is part of the problem, is the training hasn't been good. The rules have changed so many times, and that's why you get, you know, if you fail an inspection and you don't get the same inspector back, he's gonna find 3 other things that the first inspector didn't care about. Always. My last 3 flips in Denver, haven't hardwired the smoke detectors. They came in, made me hardwire them, or get a Bluetooth smoke detector. You know, so you can buy Bluetooth smoke detectors for $200 for like 6 of them at Home Depot. and they kind of work. But once you have them in, like at the last one I did, the inspector came in, I made him go off, he's like, those 3 aren't going off. I'm like, I'll fix that, and then he passed me. I don't know if I ever fixed it or not. I'm not technically savvy enough to figure out why it wasn't working, but that is something going on out there.
I was just wondering from like a buyer's perspective, we live in West Arvada and I see a lot of new builds going up, and I'm not sure if that's just because it's so far west and kind of out of Denver a little bit, but it's really close to Boulder. It's only like 15-20 minutes from Boulder. But I'm not sure if it's maybe just because it's a higher price point or it's more custom, but I'm just seeing a lot of new builds, especially like up and down Indiana that I drive. So does anybody have a perspective on like maybe why there's so much?
Low inventory.
That is a desire. It's a desire.
A desirable price point for entry for developers and the like. You wouldn't build where you ain't gonna make money.
Just so you guys know too, the insurance companies have given these guys from Marshall a year to rebuild. Now, if a permit takes a year to get, you know, it's a catch-22. So you're seeing a lot of them that are going out and they're buying houses elsewhere. If they're working remote, it doesn't make any difference where they live. If they're trying to stay close into Boulder County, which I don't know why they would do that, they're having trouble finding houses and stuff and to build. But they do have a time limit with their insurance claims.
So Ray just handed me a note from Denver Administrative Support Assistant. 4th, I don't know why there's a 4th there. We are doing our best to manage and reduce the amount of development projects being reviewed past the target due date, including hiring new staff, procuring the assistance of a third-party review service. Please assure we're trying to get it started. We're reviewing projects that are 13 weeks after they are submitted. So they say 13 weeks, that's 2.5 months, right? That's to review them, and then if they fail, they have to go back. So that's what's going on in the city. So for us developers who came from Texas, hopefully we can help you guys out, but that's gonna be a hard one for you guys.
And in a similar light on acquisitions for commercial, I requested a zoning letter back in December because the lender was requiring it, and it's supposed to be a 2 to 3 week turnaround. And you email, do everything you can, say, hey, just reaffirm this letter from 3 years ago. And they say, they spend more time saying that we're understaffed than just doing what it would take to do it. And then in my inbox in April, 4 months later, it shows up, long past the deal has died. I get a zoning letter. It was a 8-minute exercise on their part.
Yep. So, there's the Denver market in a nutshell. And what I started with is the market falling. Nobody says it is. None of you guys believe that. We're so ahead of the game.
Al's not here today.
Al is not here. Thank goodness. No, I like Al sometimes. That's why we got through all our stuff so quick. One last thing.
One more quick thing. Another reason why they're thinking it's dropping, most people, or the people that actually think it's dropping, is because if the neighborhood has always held its value, then those are good neighborhoods to get into. You're still going to get what you want out of them. But these neighborhoods where people were paying an arm and a leg more than what it was worth in January and for the last 2 years, it just came back down to reality. That's all it is. It's like, run your numbers right and you'll still make money in there. It just, you're not going to overpay for properties anymore.
Right. All right, so it's 9 o'clock. This is where the magic happens. All right? Not that this wasn't magic beforehand, but this is really where the magic happens. This is where you get to meet people, you get to network, exchange numbers, plan a coffee meeting, plan to get a beer. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. What I tell all the new people If you don't come back again, I will never know who you are. If you come back twice, I won't know who you are. If you come back 5 times, I might start knowing who you are. It takes me a little while. I used to be really good at it, but as we've grown so big, it's harder and harder to remember who's who. So come back over and over and over again, and you will get business out of this room, I guarantee it. People have told me they made 50% of their money out of this room. One guy made $250,000 in a year just because of the contacts in this room. So
Since you came.
come back, go to RIG, go to ICOR, go to Smedra, go to all these other events, the badass guys from Bigger Pockets, go to these events. Start to meet people, but always remember, do your due diligence on anybody you're gonna talk to. Because there are a lot of people that talk a lot and think they're really good, and they may not be. So do your due diligence. If you're new to the business, if you're trying to figure this out, come see myself or Jim, because we're gonna help you out. Our program is successful. We have 93% success rate. We have an average of $36,000 on your first deal, net profit. So come see us and we'll get you through it. And we're local and we're here. We're not going anywhere. I'm here for 5 more years.